Welcome to Discover Janesville. My name is Yuri Rashkin, and today we are guests here at International Academy, which is one of the charter schools through Janesville School District. My next guest is Carrie Kulinski with Kress Academy. Carrie, thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Kress, that must stand for something.
It does. Actually, CRES stands for Community, Recovery, Education, and Service.
And if you could talk a little bit about the mission of your charter school, because every charter school is different.
Right.
And you guys are no Rock River Charter School. You have a special niche for special kids.
Right.
If you could talk about that.
CRES Academy is a recovery high school. A lot of people say, what is a recovery high school? A recovery high school is a high school for students that are in recovery from addiction. These are students that have completed alcohol and drug treatment. They have the choice to go back to their traditional high school, Craig or Parker, or they have the choice to come to CRES Academy. In fact, there's only 3 recovery high schools in the state of Wisconsin and less than 40 recovery high schools in the United States.
And the problem is that if the kids go after the recovery to a regular school, then I guess they'll be exposed back to the same situation, same environment where they got into the problems in the first place.
Yeah, there's been some research done actually of students that have went back to their traditional high schools, and 97% of them were offered drugs the first day they returned back from treatment. So the relapse potential is high. It's almost like an alcoholic going back into a bar. I mean, the same people, the same triggers, the same atmosphere.
It's hard to walk into a bar and say, I'll have a Diet Coke.
Exactly, exactly. And for a recovering student, going back to their regular school where they came from, you know, they might have been dealing drugs at that school, you know, they might have been using at that school. That just sets off relapse potential for them.
And you are actually known as the weed whacker.
Yes, I am the weed whacker. How that came about was...
How did that come about?
Funny you should ask. How that came about is I wrote a marijuana curriculum, actually called Delta 9, that is being sold nationwide.
Sounds like it will be turned into a movie here pretty soon.
Kind of, maybe. But Delta 9 is a marijuana curriculum that I wrote, and that actually all sales of my curriculum, which I sell for $200, goes to fund the CRES Academy. So we've developed a product that we sell nationwide to actually fund our school. And the weed whacker came about because Frank Schultz from the Janesville Gazette did an article about me. So here's my picture on the front page of the Janesville Gazette, you know, teaching, and the caption was weed whacker. So my friends call me WW. It's been kind of a joke. So
can you describe somebody that you feel would be not quite a model student, but somebody that you would expect to be interested in the CRES Academy?
In the CRES, okay. Definitely. These are students that, you know, have addiction problems. They are addicted to drugs or alcohol, and it's caused problems in their life. You know, legal problems, family problems, school problems, and many of these students end up in drug treatment, either inpatient, outpatient. Some students actually stop on their own. I would never turn away a student that hadn't gone through traditional treatment because it's expensive, and not every student can afford inpatient treatment. So this is a student that is really serious about staying clean and sober, not a student that has to stay clean and sober because they're on probation for some reason. These are students that have a desire to be clean and sober, and they need extra support. And we can offer that. I'm also a clinical substance abuse counselor myself, so in the morning it's all academics. I mean, we're a regular school, we have regular classes, we have a teacher who's certified. In the afternoon, they're with me and we focus on recovery issues. I mean, I do group therapy with them every afternoon. We talk about relapse triggers. We talk about one student may be struggling with anger that day, so we talk about anger and how that is a relapse trigger to think about using.
Is that kind of similar to what Alcoholics Anonymous does? Or?
Kind of. Yeah, Alcoholics Anonymous is more of a peer support, which we have peer support too. We recommend that students find their own support outside of school, but in school, I mean, that's why it works, because all these students have the same issues, and one can say, yeah, I really, you know, I'm feeling like using today, and the other student can say, me too, and say, well, let's talk about that. You know, what's triggering that? What's going on in your lives that is making you think about using drugs or alcohol? So a little bit, just the support for each other.
How did you become interested in this very challenging area of work?
Well, I worked in drug treatment for 10 years. I worked inpatient, outpatient, with adolescents, with adults. And when I worked with the adolescents at a place called Parkside Lodge, which was in Edgerton, and they'd be doing great, and you know, they'd be an outpatient, and they'd be doing fine, and they'd go back to school, and 75% of these students relapsed once they got back to school. And I thought, there's got to be something for these kids, you know. And you know, I had it in my mind, you know, probably 15 years ago, wouldn't it be great if there was a sober school that these students could go to?
And it sounds like it's not sober where it's implied, but it's actually explicit.
Yes.
Sober school.
Right. Yeah, it's a recovery high school, and that is our mission, to help them stay clean and sober. I mean, ultimately, they have to do the work. We're there to give them the information, support them any way we can, but they have to do the work. So as an addiction counselor, I just struggled so much, you know, just watching the students relapse and not having the support they needed. And let's face it, I mean, a lot of the young students don't get into 12-step meetings. They say, we go, it's all these old people that we can't relate to. So I said, well, there's got to be a support just for you guys. And when the charter school option came about, I applied for a planning grant just to see if this is even feasible in Janesville, if we have enough students, if we could do it. Through that planning grant, I actually went to Sobriety High School in Minneapolis and spent some time up there with them, and they have 4 campuses, you know, and they have 89 students. So I sat with them, and I said, you know, I think we could do this in Janesville. So
do you see your enrollment increasing over the year? I mean, you guys are a new program.
Yeah, we started in 2007, and I hope so. Right now, we're only taking 10 students. That is our max. We're about half that right now. Okay. Because there's so much small group work, you know, and so much
But I would think that there's more need out there, so maybe it's part of it is just getting the word out and letting people know that it's available.
Yes, and I've had a few inquiries from students from other school districts. See, but the issue is open enrollment. Mm-hmm. And in fact, the 3 recovery schools from Wisconsin have joined together to form the Association of Wisconsin Recovering Schools, so we can tackle some of these state mandates that aren't working for us. I mean, a student comes out of treatment in July and they want to, and let's say they live in Edgerton and they want to come to the CRES Academy. They can, they would have to pay tuition. Or they will have to wait till February to enroll in Janesville schools through open enrollment and then start the following year.
So if somebody wants to figure out how to navigate this, because it sounds to me like somebody who's going through addiction problems already has enough on their plate.
Right.
But if they have a desire to continue with this lifestyle, how do they, what's contact information? Because it sounds like if they get in touch with you, maybe you can help direct them a little bit in this process.
Right. A lot of our students come from referrals from the treatment center. We don't go out looking for students. A lot of the students contact us.
You have a lot on your plate as well.
Because they're in treatment.
Is there a website, a phone number?
Yes, the School District of Janesville's main web page has a little pull-down menu on the side. It says Charter Schools, and we're all listed there, and it says the Janesville CRES Academy. You know, click on that, and we have our own website. You can apply. All of our information is there. I'm also the district's ATODA coordinator, besides the CRES coordinator.
You should probably mention what ATODA stands for.
Alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs of abuse. And I've had that position for the last 12 years.
Okay. So. What have you learned from this experience? Because you've had that the experience of putting the program together, the manual. You really went through a lot of steps here. Mm-hmm. What do you feel you've learned now that you even have students in a school? And I mean, that's a pretty big achievement to put together a program like that.
Right. Well, what I've learned is students learn different ways. I mean, we have great schools in Janesville, but not all students fit in to certain schools. You know, that's why we have the charter school option. What I've learned is students don't always fit into the school, so sometimes we have to make the school fit the student. And that's what the CRES Academy does. And that was the whole mission, to really make the CRES Academy available and fit recovering students.
All right. If there's somebody out there who is perhaps somebody who should be interested in being a student, or a parent of somebody who should be interested in being a student at CRES Academy, what would you want them to know?
I would want them to know that we are a school for students who want to be there. I think there's some misconception out there that the CRES Academy is drug treatment. It's not.
That they're chained to the desk kind of a thing?
Well, they say, well, the student is using drugs, let's send them to CRES. And I have to say, no, this school is for students that quit using drugs and wants to stay clean and sober. It's not a school, it's not drug treatment. And I think sometimes people think that just because I am an addiction therapist and we do groups and things there, they think it's drug treatment. It's not. It's continuing care
It's
beyond
providing
their,
that clean lifestyle.
Yes. It's continuing care beyond their treatment. It's support is what it is.
Is there a success story that you feel that you could share without violating anybody's privacy?
You know, all of our students are a success in my eyes, just, you know, staying clean and sober. A young person with an addiction problem, trying to stay clean and sober is so hard. Nowadays, you know, we did have one student who moved up here from Arkansas. She was addicted to methamphetamine. She was making methamphetamine in Arkansas. She ended up, you know, her parents lived in town. She ended up coming back to Janesville and then going to drug treatment down at Rosecrans in Rockford. And Rosecrans, of course, recommended that she come to CRES. And she did, and she graduated. And she said, without this school, I would have been dead. I never would have graduated, and she did. And she's alive today, and she's doing great.
Carrie, well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Yuri.
Best of luck.